Secretary of State Antony Blinken grilled on Capitol Hill before the House Foreign Affairs Committee over the United States withdrawal from Afghanistan.
Rather than accepting responsibility for the disastrous withdrawal, including the death of 13 U.S. service members and dozens of Afghans, the Secretary of State took the opportunity to blame the Trump administration. Watch this.
When President Biden took office in January, he inherited an agreement that his predecessor had reached with the Taliban to remove all remaining forces from Afghanistan by May 1st of this year. We inherited a deadline. We did not inherit a plan.
Joining us now to discuss is Bob Barr, former congressman of Georgia. And we also have Democrat analyst Jonathan Harris joining us live, as well as U.S. Navy veteran and California congressional candidate Joe Collins. Joe, I'll start with you right off the rip. That soundbite from Antony Blinken, was that acceptable, saying we didn't inherit a plan?
No, it's not acceptable. And the reason why is because with every transition in administration, regardless of whatever policies are put in place, you're never going to get a plan. You're going to get something that the last president was doing. In this case, to use the excuse that Joe Biden didn't get a plan or the Secretary of State didn't get a plan is beyond my belief because, we didn't get a plan for the southern border. We had the southern border in place. We didn't get a plan for the pipeline, but the pipeline was in place, and Joe Biden managed to shut those down. How come he couldn't, rearrange a plan to withdraw from Afghanistan? Now, nobody's saying that the withdrawal from Afghanistan was wrong. What we're saying is it could have been done in a manner to where, we could have made sure that the Taliban forces were taken out, and we could have made sure that all of our allies and Americans were withdrawn from Afghanistan before removing our forces.
Right. You point out plenty of Trump policies that were changed once Joe Biden got into office, though. However, after the withdrawal, we'd heard from the Secretary of State there blaming the Trump administration for the withdrawal. He goes on to say, though, that the Biden administration was ready for the worst case scenario coming out of Afghanistan. Watch this.
Throughout the year, we were constantly assessing their staying power and considering multiple scenarios. Even the most pessimistic assessments did not predict that government forces in Kabul would collapse while U.S. forces remained. Nonetheless, we planned and exercised a wide range of contingencies.
And yet, Jonathan, Kabul fell when Antony Blinken was in the Hamptons, and it fell very quickly as well. Was the administration actually prepared for what was going to happen in Afghanistan?
I think the point that he was making was that nobody could anticipate that what unfolded in Afghanistan in that amount of days was going to happen. I think he brought up the chairman of the Joint Chiefs said that nobody anticipated that essentially that Afghan forces would fold and kind of run and leave things to the Taliban. But what's interesting to me is that through this entire process, I didn't hear any conservative criticism for all of the things that were set up essentially for Biden to walk into what he walked into. I mean, you had the Taliban at their strongest that they'd been since 9/11. You had U.S. troops at their lowest since 2001, all of that set up by Trump. And even in the weeks leading up to the withdrawal, you had Trump bragging about how he had set this up and how Biden wanted to stop it, and he couldn't. I think he was bragging about that at a campaign rally. So, I mean, I don't think anyone anticipated that on the left or right. And then you saw what happened, and I think Republicans pounced because they saw their opportunity to try to make a Biden controversy. But the fact of the matter is we all knew that our troop levels had been diminished. We knew that Trump had been negotiating with the Taliban. Trump asked the Afghan government to release 5,000 Taliban prisoners, and there was silence on the right. Because, again, I don't think anybody anticipated that that's what was going to happen.
We're still awaiting the Senate hearing. This will be day 2 for Secretary of State Antony Blinken. He's going to face the Senate Foreign Affairs Committee. It's going to come up in just a bit. Before that happens, final thoughts. Bob Barr on the withdrawal in Afghanistan, Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and what do you expect to hear from him today, or perhaps not hear?
Frankly, I don't really care. Antony Blinken he's a policy wonk here. He wasn't making decisions, and that's why the Democrats want him up there, because he's not in a position to really tell them anything. The people that we ought to have up there are our intelligence experts and our military leaders. They were the ones that fouled up here. To say that nobody anticipated the way the Afghan army folded tells me that we have very, very poor intelligence assessments here. The fact that we allowed the evacuation of Bagram Air Base in July tells me that our military leaders don't know what they're doing. Those are the people that we need answers from, not some policy wonk at the State Department.
We'll wait and see if those folks would take any questions. Bob Barr, Jonathan Harris, Joe Collins, thank you all so much. We appreciate it.
Coming up, President Biden slamming GOP lawmakers for making the vaccine mandates political, but he talked